There's a lot of weird things going on. 1:30 in the morning today, guys. Apparently, allegedly, a bridge collapses because a ship who is ran by some professional people runs into the bridge. Can you play this clip, Rob, on how the bridge comes down in back a little bit? Watch this. Boom. Slow motion. Oh, my God. No. Bridge goes down. It's 40 degrees outside. That water is 30 degrees. Some are saying the bridge didn't hit anything. Some are saying it did. Even the captains that have been doing this for the longest time, Rob, what did they say with the experience that they have? You know, you were saying something, the fact that they've been doing this route for a long time, the captain has been?
Yeah, I believe that Baltimore Harbor is their main harbor, so they navigate that daily.
They navigate that daily, and this happened at 1:30 in the morning. The number that I saw, I think it was, what, let me read this number to you on what it was, 20 people. So, where's that story for Baltimore Bridge collapses? It says page 5.
It's on the addendum.
Yeah, so video ship Dali rams into Francis Scott Key Bridge, causing it to collapse, prompting Maryland Transportation Authority to issue a warning against using the Interstate 695. Kevin Cartwright was from Baltimore City Fire Department, describes it as mass casualty, multi-agency incident with potential victims in the water. The bridge collapse disrupts both shipping and road transportation, impacting one of the busiest ports on the East Coast and severing a crucial link on a major highway in circling Baltimore. The vessel involved, Dali, registered in Singapore, carrying approximately 4,900 containers, arrived at the Seagrid Marine Terminal in Baltimore after delivery to Port of New York, New Jersey. The incident halts shipping operations, affecting the bustling port, which in 2023 handled the highest volume of autos and light trucks in the U.S. for 13 consecutive years. So kind of weird when you're seeing this. I think 20 people, can you find out how many people fell in the water? I think 20 people. Some people late at night is typically when they work on that bridge, based on what I read earlier this morning. Do we have any stories on how many people fell in the water? Is there like an update on the story? Vinny, what are your thoughts?
I saw a couple of reports that the ship changed its course approximately 2 minutes prior to hitting the bridge. The lights go out twice right before it goes on. Some people, I mean, and again, we don't know, but some people are saying it could be a cyber attack. This is the most traveled cargo for like cars and all that stuff.
Yeah.
This is going to disrupt this path horribly. Like something at this magnitude, it doesn't. I don't think this is like a whoops. The power went out and I just crashed into something. I think there's something deeper that's going on with the story.
Well, speaking of something deeper going on, who is the Secretary of Transportation?
Pete Buttigieg.
Pete Buttigieg. So, look, Pete Buttigieg just had honestly the highlight of his career during the State of the Union when Joe Biden singled him out and he was like, dude, you're killing it. Like, yeah. Pete Buttigieg had a big smile, everything that's going on. Look, I'm sure there's a ton of stories to go here. This situation here, your story with East Palestine, I want to know what Pete Buttigieg has to say here. Like, if you ask any major Biden supporter, give me his accomplishments, they'll always point to the bipartisan infrastructure deal.
Oh,
I don't know what's going on, guys, but these things, they need to be looked at.
You know what that reminds me of? You said it a couple weeks ago. Remember the beginning of that movie, Barack Obama and Michelle Obama? What was it? Leave the world behind?
Yeah.
What's it open with?
The ship that's coming.
The ship is just coming, and people are like, what's happening? Because it was an attack, cyber attack.
Interesting.
That right there looks to me, how does it just boom, change course, lights go out? That looks like you nailed it too, Adam. An infrastructure attack. That could be something that's set up by foreign agents. Who knows, bro? That's really rare and random to see.
Because of our Judeo-Christian principles, on the scriptural and biblical backing and background by which Americans have proceeded happily into a blessed life, a life replete with total satisfaction and a complete spiritual self-realization within this framework of living as a historical, a principled, constitutional American, right? A wife and husband and just beautiful children running around and just building a strong future on the principles of honesty and integrity and hard work and diligence that are a reflection of the Protestant that work ethic. And I know a lot of people like to try to antagonize the historical Baptist, Lutheran, and Presbyterian and Methodist foundations for a strong American church, with that spiritual affirmation producing a powerful peer culture throughout, like a rigid substrate upon which the American economy and the American society and the entire American cultural paradigm has produced such innovative thinkers and produced a powerful cutting-edge technologies. And of course, there's always the other side of that. There's always the process by which technologies have been acquired, accumulated, and developed and funded into being by private interests, Rockefeller think tanks, and et cetera, only to be used to empower pseudo-science and false ideological narratives that only produce ignorance and superstition and terror and fear in the people, using advanced technology behind the scenes in order to ultimately convince the people that there's UFOs and people from Mars, there's Martians everywhere flying around in flying saucers, right? Amazing. So later on we just find out that they were experimenting with technological advantages behind the scenes that people didn't really understand. And the same thing is happening now as you have all these weird UFO alien sycophants out there looking into the skies, and of course they're going to see the new projects that Area 51 and Area 52 or whatever are putting up in the sky from DARPA labs, and they're going to, think it's ET, right? As they always do. And that's been really the idea from Roswell on. It's been the kind of prevailing psyop to keep people from really using their actual brainstem and thinking very deeply about what's going on, but just to just get on their knees and get ready to be rolled over by the sky gods with their high technology. Of course, we haven't had any advances in the combustion motor. They're trying to develop battery technology, which is, of course, ridiculous. It's a ridiculous technology that's really developed right now, of course. They're making a lot of money with that. And I hope that battery technology advances to quite a degree. But we could advance our motors in this country past the need and dependency and total addiction to oil. We could use other technologies and other developments of motors to use, other than batteries or lithium or whatever they're trying to do there. But it's not really part of the plan. I mean, the plan is going to be 15-minute smart cities, sustainable development goals of the United Nations, and of course the immigration compact, which deems it legal for the United Nations to pour and to fund and to give camps and to give the hiking coordinates through TikTok in order to climb through all the dangerous mountain ranges, past all the rapists and bandits and murderers out there and cutthroats, to walk past all the trees with the panties that are strewn with all the panties of all the little girls that were raped there. The rape trees, right? Got to walk past that. And the TikTok map will help you do that. You get right here in the country. Of course, it's illegal. You're an illegal invader. You should really be shot. If they were shooting the illegal invaders, then they wouldn't be coming into the country, right? So, of course, they're going to have to be shot because they're going to get out of control, and they're going to, and there's no longer any more money to feed their greedy, starving little mouths and their babies, right? Because, their babies are most important, right? Nobody else's kids matter, but just, these illegal immigrant babies right here. I guess they're not immigrants, right? They've been forcefully ramrodded into the country. So that's going to be the issue that America's going to have to deal with as that crime wave continues. And they're given weapons, right? They're weaponized. They're weaponized invaders now because of the Obama-appointed judges say that they can have guns, no problem, no permit needed. They're real humans with real human rights, real constitutional rights. But these whiteys over here, these pale, too male, too stale, all them, they can't have no guns or permits. They can't even be approved to have permits. They wanted a permit? Let's investigate them. They don't get no permit. They don't get no gun. They don't get nothing. They can't shoot back, right? They can't shoot back. If they do, they're like Daniel Penny, right? Guy who stripped the gun off the cat. I guess he wasn't like Daniel Penny, right? He had to strip the gun off the guy and shoot him with his own gun. But I guess he was a tanny. So he had a brown on his skin. So I guess he gets a pass, right? Gets to walk. But if you're Daniel Penny and you save everybody from getting tore up or cut up or whatever happened there, and you do your best to just restrain the guy and he just dies because he's on fucking meth or something, but yeah, you're too pale and too stale, kid. You got to go to prison, buddy. We're going to try you out. So that's the nature of this new Jacobin takeover, this neo-Jacobin, neo-Bolshevik, right? Jesuit-inspired, Georgetown-led insanity from the campus, right? From the campus to the street. We're going to, support Hamas to the end, right? They're going to support Hamas to kick Israel out. We're going to free Palestine from the river to the sea. I mean, of course, like we said, that they don't know what river or what sea, and they can't point to it on the map, but they got the chant down. They're like a 2-year-old, like a nursery rhyme, right? Break everything down into a nursery rhyme, and they can chant it all night long, okay? So that's what we're dealing with. We're dealing with the overthrow of America here, guys. And of course, we're getting on our knees to pray in America to repent to our Christmas trees, right? Because we don't know what religion is anymore, or what God is. We just got the little star on top. We got Santa Claus and his reindeer. We're on our knees praying to it, praying to the thing, the God. We don't know what God is our God anymore, right? Because, we really hate those Jews they shouldn't have held back on October 7th. Why did they hold back for 8 hours? Just, it's their fault. They didn't need to hold back. We don't want to blame Hamas. We don't want to blame the horrible Palestinian degenerates over there that voted for this or allowed this to happen and supported it and didn't stop it, right? They brought this on themselves. We're not going to let these individuals, these murderers and rapists and, baby cookers or whatever. I saw the video. I guess you guys just only want to see one side of the equation, but I saw what originally happened there, and I saw the people fighting for their lives and hiding, and they didn't survive, but they had to hide around the bodies, and they had to, lie in the broken, bloody pile of the rape victims and ultimately be shot. And it's disgusting, guys. Those people, there's no Hollywood producers or film directors or movie makers horror movie script writers, right, that can even think of this shit is so horrible. It's the worst Chainsaw Massacre kind of insane, bloodthirsty, and monstrous behavior. And for it to be so cold and calculated, and for them to come in and act like that, right? There's no Jewish conspiracy that made those individuals go in and perform those acts. So whatever kind of furnace of immoral and debased corruption that's pouring out these individuals over there, it's got to get just wiped out. The tunnels have got to be destroyed from end to end. Every single incest family over there needs to be carted off. Maybe the United Nations can take it back to their offices, because we don't need that here in the United States. So we're here, guys, to fight the good fight, to bring out the American spirit, the fighting spirit here in America once again, to restore us and our country and the heritage for our future and our children's future, to restore that once again. And in order to repent and to go to God properly, we have to know who our God is. We have to know that our God is the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and Israel. That's our God, all right? And those guys over there, they have a different God. And, it's not for me to get involved in the fight over there with Israel's business with their neighbor. Just like it's not for me to involve myself and have some kind of chant or some kind of sloganeering or some kind of mantra to chant regarding what happens with Ukraine and Russia. It's obvious now that who's interfered there. It's obvious now who the traitors are and who the weird background bureaucrat employees of the American people have been over there causing all this war. It's time for Victoria Nuland to go ahead and get the shackles. Peter Navarro, he shouldn't be in the shackles. He shouldn't be perp walked in the chains. That's Victoria Nuland. We've got everything turned around in this country. We got the wrong people in jail, and we got the wrong, disgusting, deep state pigs running the show here who need to be taken out. And the American people are the only ones, the only sovereign principles in the equation who have the authority to go ahead and vote them down with a thumbs down. And they're going to try to prop our thumbs down right up digitally, and they're going to try to do everything they can to stuff ballots. These people are going to do whatever they can to try to cheat and to maintain their insane power lust and the megalomaniacal thrust for absolute power and absolute revenge. Right? Victoria Nuland's got to get back for her people. Right? Whatever psychodrama is playing out there in the background, somebody needs to get her in a straitjacket and put her in a rubber room. Right? And in the meantime, the American people and the Russian people are not at war. We're not at war with each other. And all these factions behind the scenes, they're causing all this disruption and bringing us so dangerously close to a technical military conflict, we need to go ahead and put them in shackles. We need to go ahead and reorient the U.S. Marshals. We need to go divide up the FBI. We need to go shatter the CIA into 1,000 pieces. We need a new golden revolution, right? A new golden revolution to wash out this old, festered, and infected, diseased sections within our federal government. And we need to go after these individuals who have stolen these elections in these state governments. We need to go back to find out who is corrupting these elections in the first place with these Dominion voting machines. It seems to me that Fox News didn't even need to be sued at all or to lose that lawsuit or pay all that money. So I don't know if they're just a bunch of losers over at Fox who just don't know how to keep their talent and don't know how to actually perform the duties of running a news agency. Maybe the FCC should just pull their entire ticket, right, until they can just straighten out what the hell exactly is going on at Fox News, because it just seems to be a debacle. It doesn't make any sense. And they were the first ones up there to block President of the United States from getting a chance to speak with Twitter. I mean, they're just, it's bizarre. And like Steve Bannon likes to say, they're not American citizens, right? What are we doing letting people who are just foreign actors, who could be agents of a foreign power, what are we letting them do running a major news broadcast within the United States? Like they can just, right? We can have another company go ahead and just buy them out, who can just do that whole situation properly, right? I mean, isn't that within the rights and the authority and the power of the American people and the Congress, the Senate? But of course, that is really neither here nor there. Okay, but what is really at issue now is the fact that we can see clearly how the American people have been repeatedly abused and deceived and lied to and misled, and how corrupted our elections have become is an issue of national security of the highest level. And so I don't know what the National Security Agency is doing all day. I don't know what, I don't know if they're just over there just masturbatorily stroking their own ego all day long behind the scenes, or what is actually the purpose of them? Because they obviously don't know how to understand when there's been a total breach of our electoral system in America. I mean, they're all political. It's coming out now that the 51 signers of the document against Trump, I mean, it was all political. It was all just a ruse. It was all just a staged power play in order to keep the deep state power circle jerk in its big circle jerk circle, right? They couldn't let anyone just expose what was going on behind the scenes. We can't let anyone find out that the whole entire transgender movement is just a total CIA farce, that all this debasement and perversion is coming through our kids, affecting our kids so dramatically. Parents getting their kids taken away, kids committing suicide. And what is going on with California? Should we just go to war with California and just put out our troops and just retake it? Because it looks like California has been taken by some foreign adversary, some kind of foreign conspiracy, some kind of unseen cabal, World Economic Forum, CCP actors in the background have just completely taken over the control of the entire state of California. We should probably have to reconquer California. It's a reconquest, so that actually, we need to take their star off the flag. Right? They don't get a star on the flag anymore right now. They're really not a part of America, right? I mean, you have to ask the question, are you an American or are you a Democrat? Are you some kind of communist infiltration agent? I mean, what are you really? I mean, you're here just to facilitate the sacking and looting of your own nation? You just work every single day to bring down, compromise, and destroy your own countrymen and enable your enemies' ultimate victory and conquest over this nation? So that, why don't you just go like the other weirdo, the other kid, the Air Force pilot who set himself on fire and just tried to videotape himself as some kind of narcissistic circle jerk. He's over there with the circle jerks, right? Who would do that? Who would just to try to serve some kind of venal banality, some narcissistic, egoistic, self-righteous moralization, and set yourself on fire? You hear him scream out, roll around. I think he was going for the sprayer. I couldn't watch it. I think he thought somebody was going to put him out and he would just be on CNN later or something, right? What the hell is going on with these people? They're completely sick and nuts because they're not Americans, guys. They're Democrats.
And apparently the U.S. intelligence apparatus had foreknowledge. 2 weeks ago, the U.S. Embassy in Russia warned that extremists had imminent plans for an attack in Moscow. The warning was issued several hours after the FSB said it had intervened on a Russian synagogue by a terrorist cell of Sunni Muslims of the Islamic State.
So, hopefully you saw the State Department, our embassy there, put out a notice to all Americans in Moscow to avoid any large gathering, concerts, obviously shopping malls, anything like that, just for their own safety. They should stay put where they are and stay plugged into the State Department for any additional updates and information. I'm afraid that's really all I have on that. Now, on Ukraine.
Did the U.S. have prior knowledge of this attack in Moscow, given that the U.S. Embassy had issued warning beforehand?
I'm not aware of any advanced knowledge that we had of this terrible attack.
On March 8th, the embassy warns of imminent attack in Moscow by extremists.
Yeah, I think that I'll let the State Department speak to that. But I don't think that was related to this specific attack.
The New York Times article talked about the fact that the CIA has been training the nationalist groups in Ukraine with this guy Budanov and others. He's the CIA's man in Ukraine. And you're seeing the videos, by the way. McCain was a huge part of this. Lindsey Graham was a part of this at the time. There were Republicans and Democrats both going in. Everyone was dipping their beaks into Ukraine.
By the way, slow down, Jack, we have limited time.
The point of Operation Gladio 1.0 and 2.0 will be the same. It's not just about, so number one, it's about conducting provocations in order to try to destabilize a region. I'm talking about false flag attacks. But we're also talking about attacks that they can blame on the Russians.
The attackers at the Crocus Music Hall used explosives and automatic weapons. Some remain trapped inside with their victims as the fire spread. Adding to the chaos, ISIS has claimed responsibility. Was it yet another willful decision from the Joe Biden administration?
So with the additional steps I ordered last month, we're speeding up training of ISIL forces, including volunteers from Sunni tribes in Anbar province.
Ну а кто помогал вооружать людей, которые в Сирии боролись с Асадом? Уже с оружием, все, у них уже не отнимешь. Потом выяснилось, что в другом месте чуть-чуть начали побольше платить. Они там туда перетекут.
The odd events surrounding this massacre will definitely play out as the days roll on and the true players surface. John Bound reporting for InfoWars.
Coming up next segment, I want to talk about the Islamic terror threat in America that is extremely real, and that the wars we've had over there have exacerbated it. And notice the globalists opened the borders up to Europe and the U.S. to bring them in. And a lot of these terror groups are controlled by the CIA and others. So we've got that very, very important stack. But I wanted to play a short clip of Tucker Carlson explaining that the U.S./British Empire model, and that's what the New World Order is fading. And at the highest levels, the globalists have actually planned this for a while, but they thought China would still be allied with them. They're not. So that's why the Western Empire is in so much trouble. And I see China as just as bad as the New World Order, basically a demonic doppelganger of it. But it's definitely broken with the globalists, but it still controls a lot of our politicians. So here's Tucker Carlson talking about it.
Because the world is resetting completely. The post-war order is collapsing. NATO is going to collapse, obviously. You can't have the driver of NATO, which is the United States, sabotage Germany's main source of cheap energy in Nord Stream. The Biden administration blew up Nord Stream. And the Germans are so self-hating, they won't say anything about it. They sort of put their head down like, no, I don't want to talk about that. Okay. But I do want to talk about it because it's important. First of all, it was the biggest act of industrial sabotage in history. Second, it was the largest man-made CO2 emission in history, which if you're a global warming cultist is like the devil himself come to earth, and the Biden administration did that. But third and most important, it was an attack on Germany, which is the most powerful country in Europe. Western Europe is America's last main ally, and we just attacked our most important ally. NATO cannot stand long term. At some point, the Germans are going to wake up and be like, wait a second, we had chemical plants 2 years ago, now we don't. You just wrecked our economy. I don't think it can continue after that. I really don't. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't see how it does.
That's right. For people that don't know, they make fertilizer out of natural gas. It's one of the main sources. So, and the Dutch government just shut off half their nitrogen production, period. And people say, okay, who cares? That's industrial. That's stuff that engineers deal with. It's what grows the damn food, people. So the globalists aren't just cutting off the third world's food, which is terrible. Then they flood us, the survivors. They're cutting off the entire world's food supply. Now here, that just means your grocery bills are double and it hurts you bad. You can't go to the movies, and you can't send your kids to college or go on a vacation. The third world, it means you die. Okay. So this is the angrier world. The dominoes are already falling. We're deep into this, and we have such a normalcy bias of living in relative freedom and security. They've already irrevocably put things into motion that even if you try to turn it around now, it's going to be disastrous. And if these policies of cutting off the food for plants, which is the food for humans and the animals we eat, and you cut the energy off to the machines that get us everywhere we go and that also help produce the food, what happens? Again, if you walk out in a parking lot and I've got a 5-gallon tank siphoning the last 5 gallons out of your car, that means your car's not going to start. And you can't just go down the street to a gas station, okay? When it comes to fertilizer. Once you've put this into motion, they've already drained the damn tank. The third world is already melting down. It's already flooding us. It's irrevocably devastating now. And you notice what I told you months ago, from the actuaries I've seen, it appears to me that really about a year ago, world population peaked and started dropping dramatically, but they were hiding it. Well, now Yahoo, AP, Reuters all say, guess what? A year ago, population began to actually drop. They'll drop by half in just the next 60 years or so, and further after that. Oh, and so is life expectancy. And then it's normal now to have heart attacks when you're 8 years old and cancer when you're 15. I'm going to cover all that coming up too. So it's a frickin' dystopia, people. So I'll say this again. While we all obsess over the Palestinians, which it's wrong, and it's wrong that 25,000 kids and women have died conservatively, but it's also wrong to not talk about the 80-plus million starved to death the UN admits from the lockdowns, not from the virus, and the dominoes falling that'll kill hundreds of millions in just the next few years, and the hell that's going to create. Half the world lives on less than $2 a day. When they start spending more than half of their pay, $14 a week, on average, on food and energy, everything melts down, and you get road warrior, and you get cannibalism, you get Haiti. So I just keep ringing the alarm, and you're like, yeah, I see my food costs a lot more. Yeah, and what are you making, even as a blue-collar worker? What are you making? $200 a day? You can barely live on that? You pull up and gas is too expensive, food's too expensive? You're having to bum money off your parents, whatever, get 2-3 jobs? Imagine making $2 a day. That's the global average in half the world. All right, I'm going to stop there. I'm just so upset right now. And then people think, oh, the left's crazy, going after the meat packers and going after the oil producers and going after everybody. And now Letitia James and George Soros suing all these industries. They're going to shut America down. That's the plan, folks. That's the post-industrial plan. So here's Kevin O'Leary chiming on the latest with Trump and the financial markets globally, how they see it.
Hope more people think about it, but they're gnashing their teeth, Tish James, at seizing properties. And people in the press are applauding. They're giggling. This is bloodthirsty.
Okay, now you're talking. You're right. This is hurting the American brand. What's going on in New York it has nothing to do with Trump. That case is over. What's going on now is concerning financial markets all around the world, because in the United States, and everybody, I don't care what color you are, red or blue or independent, doesn't matter, we are the bastion of safety when it comes to investing large pools of capital. That's what America represents. We have property rights, we have an appellate system, we have law people trust, and we give you good returns with the least amount of resistance. And what's happening in New York is tainting the American brand. I mean, seizing assets after 22 days? In a bankruptcy court, you get years to resolve this. This is not a good look on New York. It doesn't matter that it's Trump. It could be anybody. I think that's very bad for the American brand. And I also would argue that you think about if this is going to help New Yorkers, they should be asking for better management. I'm very disturbed. And the way I look at it, and I speak to many institutional capital fronts, including sovereign wealth, because I'm trying to buy TikTok right now. So I'm running all around the world trying to raise $30, $40 billion. And they all ask me the same thing. We're watching this New York thing play out. It looks to everybody like it was some dress-up court day when the parents were out and everybody got dressed up in robes and had fun acting out some court trial. When are the adults coming back into this? There are no adults yet.
That's true. I mean, you're running around trying to raise $40 billion. I'm running around trying to sell my book, get it together. Doing different things, but I believe we believe the same things. Kevin O'Leary, thanks as always for sharing your expertise on Primetime.
By the way, O'Leary's right about all this, obviously, and I've been playing a lot of his clips because this is just like shutting off the major pipelines across the country. The first week he got in office, he didn't just shut down the Keystone. Over 2,000 spurs that had to be upgraded. They said no more permits to fix any of those gas, oil, or fuel pipelines. And he shut down dozens of other big pipelines. He tried to shut down the two big pipelines out of Canada into Michigan. I mean, this is devastating. What does a foreign military do when they invade you, if it's a major military? They bomb your energy production and energy delivery systems first. You blow up the energy systems, and your enemy can't operate. The criminals running our government have already shipped our jobs overseas. Now they're just going down the switches, flip, 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 turning us off, like in 2001 Space Odyssey when the astronaut gets into the computer bank to turn off the HAL 9000. I'm afraid, Dave. I'm afraid. They're just going on the line, turning us off, turning us off, turning us off. And the left thinks it's funny.
That's right. It's time for a word from our awesome and exciting and sexy sponsor, Wendy's Boutique Limited. You guys remember how this goes? Wendy's Boutique Limited is the most hottest designer couture online. 2023 is limited catalog is here, hottest new styles, limited selection, and everything you need to be an amazing and incredible woman. And of course, at Wendy's Boutique, we do not suffer the left's disappropriation of womanhood into weird transgender debauchery over here. Wendy's Boutique is all woman. And we have amazing Van Cleef and Arpels jewelry, incredible. Marco Bizio. I see right here on the front page, I hear sale on Savage Christian Dior cologne. Of course, everybody loves that. It's a bestseller. I see Hermes watches, WB fine jewels of the highest order. Wendy's Boutique Limited is boutique supremacy online. If you don't have boutique supremacy, if you don't have wendyslimited.com, you don't have anything, guys. And we have, of course, up here on the front deck, I see Prada purses, the most incredible jewelry. Everything here is absolutely guaranteed to be the best price and absolutely 100% pure couture designer labels and fine designer jewelry. Wendy's Boutique Limited. You have to come check out the rage. Of course, Wendy's Boutique Limited recently canceled Balenciaga because Balenciaga is trash. Wendy'sLimited.com is everything you need. So we're not particularly moved by the opinion of the world, and I'm not going to be stampeded like the rest of these herdlings into some kind of complex dialectical political situation. But the world's facing it. The world's facing the kind of the teleos dynamic. And there would be no point in assisting Jewish nationalists in retaking their homeland and financing them and helping them accomplish their goal of reaching a homeland for the Jews, which is something that has been a dream of many, many Jewish people for millennia. And so this debased, overly simplified mantra of Zionist, the Zionist term, is just low-key racism, it's low-key anti-Semitism and Jew hate, the Jew haters, right? So we're going to continue to call for the death of Hamas on this show. Everywhere I look and everyone I know is absolutely horrified by with the meager resources with the Palestinians and the Gazan people, if you want. And of course, we have to take issue with those terms alone, which are just propped up, manifestly useful ideological terms that come into being now in this late stage in world history, propped up by the United Nations, propped up by the globalists, and all these left-wing fanatics are now just glomming onto these terms. They can't point to Hamas on a map. They don't know what a Hamas is. It sounds like one of the cursed individuals in the Bible named Ham, right? Hamas. That's all I think, Ham. And Ham was a tragic, bona fide reprobate in the Bible. So he wasn't some kind of heroic figure. So I continue to, I'm suspicious of all governments, and I'm suspicious of the elites within the Israeli government who might be tied to the World Economic Forum, who might be playing their role. But I don't damn the whole nation or the entire people group of the Jews because of some maybe nefarious actions or nefarious players. I'm not really willing to abandon the entire nation of Israel and all of its inhabitants to the vicissitudes of debauchery and subhuman degeneracy that is the likes of what we saw on October 7th. So you're asking me to side with pro-Hamas, leftist, transgender queers, because that's what Biden's White House wants to do, is fly transgender queer flags all over the embassies of the world, or whatever, right? So you want me to side with all that because that's suitable now, because the TikTok swarms, right? Generation TikTok swarming up with their bizarre little Hamas flag. It looks like, I get confused. It looks like a Puerto Rican flag a little bit. When I see the different flags, they start to seem like the same one. I'm not sure which one I'm looking at. Is it a Colombian flag with the weird triangle on there, a Palestinian flag? These people just made up their flags like 5 minutes ago. And of course, I find it suspicious, and you can see that the Albert Pike letters to Giuseppe Mazzini, how they planned in 1871 for there to be a Jewish state and to be world wars in the first place. I get it. I'm not stupid, but I have to maintain my integrity here and say that I pray for the Jewish people in their land, and I find them there back in their land as the Lord Jesus Christ himself said they would be, and all the prophecies said they would be. And they might have got there by some kind of Rothschild overlords. Maybe they did. But I don't give a damn. Because the people of Israel, the actual people and the bloodline, the Jewish people themselves are precious to the Lord. And I don't think he is swayed, or he gives a damn, the Lord God himself. I don't think he gives a damn about Rothschild overlords and Baron Nathaniel Rothschild, whatever. I don't think he cares about any of that. He didn't care about the Pharaoh of Egypt. He didn't care about the King Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon. He made him eat grass. And I don't think he cares about the opinion of any of you people too, who are all hopped up and hyped up like you're on some kind of fanatical drugs over this. The smell of Jewish blood in the water makes you people rabid with your Jew hate. And of course, if it's not you, I don't mean you. But it's the rest of them. It is. You can see it all over Getter and Facebook. It's like a subsection of weird leftist communists, nihilists, and who are basically atheists and godless, who just absolutely fanatically hate the Jews. And there's this whole other subsection of fanatical Roman Catholic, rosary-clutching, mass-going, and God bless them if they do, under the influence of their Roman priestcraft in the neighborhood there. And they are the other subsection of totally psycho-fanatical Jew haters, right? And it can be exposed now in this weird cross-sectioning if you go on there and Twitter, and you can follow me on there. You can see that I wage war on there, and I call for the death of Hamas every chance I get. Because I really don't care if they got started by some kind of CIA Mossad project in 1970. I don't really give a damn. And I didn't really give a damn about how ISIS got started. ISIS got started in the same kind of debased and perverse way, with apparently Obama involved. I wanted them destroyed. And it's just really schizophrenic of us as a nation to produce these totally psycho battalions of psychopaths like ISIS and produce them out of our State Department black budgets by selling cocaine across the border or whatever they do. Because you got to remember Gary Webb's research. There's all these different layers to this stuff, and you guys don't want to spell it out entirely. You just try to break it down into some kind of dualistic black and white terminology, some oversimplified moron speech for idiots. But it's not that simple, right? I'm not going to sit here and say that I will stand up for the ludicrous criminal syndicate behind whatever stuff that shadowy Jewish bankers get up to But this is the same thing with the black nobility, who are far more highly placed in the scheme of things historically, because it's the wandering Jew who's been decimated again and again. And it's like the InfoWars guys like to point out on the hate-gasm, the big hate hard-on over there on the messaging board of InfoWars. All the Jews have been kicked out of every country they've ever been in, right? Makes it hard for them to be the overlords of the one world order power structure behind the scenes ruling everything, right? Especially when these court Jews are just low-level, low-placed individuals in the scheme of things. Like Lord Rothschild still has to get on his knees in front of the king and the Pope and the whole power structure, guys. I mean, just get a grip. There's far more rich black nobility families in Italy, right? The Colonnas, right? Come on now. The Medicis. I mean, come on, give me a break. Rothschild is just a little pencil boy. That name is a fake name. It was Red Shield. It was just the Bauer family, guys. It was the Bauer family who put on airs and then had the Red Shield name, and it's Rothschild. And you know, come on, who cares? You guys are still on that? That was like 4th grade. All right, let's get up to the more interesting black hand behind the scenes there. That's what this is all about. We have to show what's happening behind the scenes, where this anti-Semitism is coming from, where this age-old rhetoric and invective, where it actually arrives and where it finds its root. So we have to go far back before 1948, because remember, in 1947, the OSS would be turned into the CIA in 1947, the CIA. And it was founded by a certain Bill Donovan, etc., other individuals who were high-level Knights of Malta, Skull and Bonesmen, high-level papal knights, ultramontane servants of the nobility. That's what it is. That's what these knighthood orders are. They're servants and warrior class guardians of the nobility, to whom they kneel and receive their rewards from. And they have no interest in national government. They have no interest in Republican democracy or popular government. They don't care about that. They serve their lords with absolute submission. If you weren't going to serve your liege lord without absolute submission, then why would you be a knight? What would be the purpose of being a knight if you weren't going to serve with total fanatic obedience? That's what a knight has to do. He has to obey the command of the king, of his royal master. And of course, the king has a royal master who he must obey, and that's the Pope. So, I mean, we've been spelling this out for quite a long time, guys. And when you saw Sir Matthew Festing taken down as the Grand Master of the Knights of Malta and the Order of Malta at the behest of the Jesuit Pope some years back, it was a reminder to the world how this all really works and who's really in charge and who really runs the show. And you can see the pictures where Bergoglio, the Pope there, insisted that Matthew Festing subordinate himself and bow and kind of scrape and be demure and look rueful and ashamed in front of him. He waved his fingers at him and insisted that in front of the cameras that he show the world who is really the boss of these people. And of course, it's the Jesuit Pope. So as we go forward, guys, we have to continue to speak the truth and to defend the people of Israel who are in the land. Probably, I mean, I don't know the details of it. These other individuals, these other pro-Hamas, pro-Palestinian individuals quoting Rothschild history seem to know the history of the government of Israel much more than I. And do I think that the CIA and the Mossad are part and parcel of some kind of larger complex? I'm sure they are. I'm sure they are. But I am thinking about the scriptures, and I'm thinking about the heart of the Lord. I'm thinking about what's going to happen to those people right there who are going to face annihilation. And when that time comes, you're going to see that the Lord God himself from heaven is going to respond. And of course, that's just me like letting you know the actual rote scriptural text and the prophetic outline that calls our attention and our eyes to witness what's going to happen right now. All of us have to pay attention to what's going to happen with Israel. And I don't know if all of their military maneuvers and who they decide to strike are all right and wrong. I didn't know that about America's attacks in Iraq, where they were apparently going around just assassinating of local tribes people. And apparently BlackRock, private security firm, was involved with some of those murders, and no one was held accountable. And I don't know about that either. It seems like more in my alley. I'm an American. It seems like it's more in my purview to pay attention to what my own countrymen are accountable for, rather than trying to, get over and get out of my lane and get over there and to worry about Israel's business for them. I'm sure that some of the footage is horrible, and it's shocking all of us, because we've never been at this point in history where we've had this situation where we can technotronically and technologically watch every single strike, watch people be vaporized, as Alex Jones says. We can watch people be totally destroyed and taken out. And it is horrifying, and it makes me sick, it makes you sick, it makes us all sick. And it's horrifying, the struggle that's being waged here. But I think that it only just pales in comparison to what's going to happen soon. Because I think it's going to get far worse, far more lethal. And I think that it's going to be horrifying what we'll see next, right? I think that's what it comes down to. That's what the prophetic outline of scriptures is about. That's why people can't stop talking about Revelation. Everyone wants to have something to say about it. Everyone wants to have an opinion or some kind of actual, like, personal sense, added to this whole thing. And it does come down to how much knowledge do we have? How much do we understand the will of God? How much do we believe and trust what the Lord is saying in the Bible? That's what it really was all about. It was all about the fact that people were only destroyed and only under the curse of God and only damned because of doubt and unbelief. Those are the two things that could destroy a soul and send somebody into perdition, into destruction, was doubt and unbelief. And the same thing was true when Jesus went down to the river and received his baptism from John, and they all heard a voice from heaven and said, "See, this is my son, whom I love, whom I am well pleased. Listen to him." Or, I'm just paraphrasing. But they all heard the voice of God from heaven. They heard God's own testimony, God's personal first-hand testimony about his son. And the last time that actually happened was up in the Mount Sinai, when the Jews, right? Oh my God, the Jews, they were there. And they were up on Mount Sinai, and they received the 10 Commandments and all the instruction of Moses from God. That was the last time that happened. And many Jews who believe in this, they believe firmly in the authority and the truth of God's speech up on Mount Sinai. They have trouble later on believing the testimony about this individual, Jesus they call Christ, yet Jesus from Nazareth, right, the Galilean, this Yeshua, HaMashiach, right? They have questions about that. They have doubts. And that's what this is all about, guys. This is going to be a fulfillment of Scripture before your very eyes. And so I know that I have to take some damage now because I'm going to stick up for Israel, for the Israelites, and for the Jewish people all around the world. And I'm going to stand against these disgusting and perverse abominations, these perverse Hamas, reprobate sons of hell. And they're going to go receive the pit, right? And they should go fight for Allah, and they should receive the pit that they're going to get from that, okay, from serving the false prophet, okay? Because that's what Muhammad is in the book of Revelation. Muhammad is the false prophet, and his partner is the Antichrist. And I have said repeatedly on this broadcast that I believe that the Antichrist figure is the papacy, the Roman papacy, the Pope of Rome, and it couldn't be anyone else. If you go back and look at it yourself, you'll discover that for yourself. And it's just a personal thing you have to do. Otherwise, you have to listen to everyone else tell you things. You have to listen to everyone else quote at you what it says. You have to listen to YouTube videos browbeat you with all this different opposing ideas. But you have to go read it yourself, and then you'll see. This is all coming down to. It's going to become so urgent, such a crisis. It's going to become such a big deal that you're going to go sit down and read it yourself. Okay, and we'll help you to do that. So here we go. We're continuing on with our program here. We love to fight the good fight, and we love to live and die in that service at all times, at every moment. And we hope to achieve the possibility of being able to one day be in the presence of the Almighty. And I guess everyone in their way is trying to achieve that. I won't listen to a Satan who tells me to like put a strap on a bomb to myself and blow people up, because those people that are being blown up, all of them are all made in the image of God. All those individuals who will die in these fanatical incidents like this are all made in the image of God. That has been consistently the message of Jesus Christ and the gospel for 2024 years. And of course, you can see that the gospel of Jesus Christ is predicted in the Old Testament long before he arrived on the scene, and the Holy Spirit overshadowing his mother was born in Bethlehem in the manger. Everyone likes to try to make it Christmas, but of course it's not Christmas, you papal fools. I hate to be like that. And so we would just, as we always say, not to be too overly religious and too scripturally strict, but just to be the Bereans, as the Bereans were, and to be those who are going to be teachers of improperly teaching the scripture and remembering and recalling and going through the biblical structure of the gospel and the prophets and the histories and all the texts of the Bible. And to do that correctly, we need to remember how the order of these things really go. And the truth is that Jesus Christ was born in a manger in Bethlehem, but it sure as heck was not on December 25th. That's ridiculous. Okay, that's just ridiculous. Let's just get over that. And of course, we don't go and celebrate, as real Christians, we don't go and celebrate Easter, which is a ridiculous imperial Roman pagan custom, which goes back to a development that would become a tradition of Romanism, and the Roman papacy would put forward these doctrines. So you arrive at Easter by doing some kind of lunar magic, because you have to go off the first new moon of the season and then count over to the very first Sunday, and then that's Easter. That sounds totally insane and ridiculous. because Pascha, or Passover, is the exact time when Jesus Christ, the Messiah, our Lord and our God and our King, came into Jerusalem lowly riding on a donkey on Passover. And we know when Passover is at because the Jews, oh my God, the Jews are there again. They actually are in charge of keeping the calendar of the Passover. So the entire religious structure of Christianity is based around this idea of when Passover happened, the fact that Jesus was brought into the city and withstood his kind of fraudulent mock trial before the Sanhedrin, and all the drama and all the histories and the accounts of his epic battle with Satan and his conquest of our future hearts and the devastation of the enemy, etc. This is the whole basis of Christian religion, is this drama that centers in Passover. And the fact that Easter is out there just bouncing around from month to week to, maybe it's in April and March, nobody knows. Every single time Easter is a different time because it's done off of a weird lunar astrological Roman magic. So we don't do Easter here, guys, just because we have the knowledge of it. And once we have the knowledge of it, we're accountable for it. And once we're accountable for it, if we don't do it, it's sin. That's what it says in the Bible. You guys probably don't know anything about it. You're doing this blasphemous and heinous and kind of ugly act against God, but you seem not to know because you seem to be trying to glorify and also celebrate the glory of Christ with this ritual of Baal. So why would you practice a ritual of Baal, a dynamic of ancient Roman pagan cultism and sorcery, and practice that unclean custom in the name of giving glory to a resurrected Messiah? Right? It's just bizarre. The term Easter in the Bible just doesn't mean what you think it means when you arrive at it. I think of Eastern mysticism. We just put the N on there. Eastern, because it's East, right? It's all about Eastern ideology and Eastern sorcery. So not to kind of overly confuse you, but just to remember that the Easter eggs and the bunny and all that kind of pageantry that the system sells you at the Dollar Tree and Walmart and all that is unclean, and it doesn't pertain to Messiah, and it doesn't pertain to the first Christians. It pertains to this super added Roman ritualism that was added later on after Constantine I guess after the Romans got done butchering Christians for 300 years. They let up a little bit and decided to take over the cowards and the weak theological remnants and fold them into their esoteric system of Mithraic sun worship. Right? So that's what you see in Rome. That's what you see everywhere in the Vatican. That's what they have all in their garments. It's all about the ancient pagan and Phoenician and Babylonian Assyrian system of sun worship. Plus, they have to super add the Egyptian rituals on there with the Mithraic sun worship, astro-theological customs. They got to push that all on there too. And then they have one system of universal pagan sun worship and Baal worship. So it's Baal mass. Right, guys? That's what it is. So we have to discourage you from taking part in that, and we have to encourage you to remember the Jewish roots of your faith so that you will not decide to incur the curse of God and raise up your hand and mind and heart and spirit and body or any kind of way because of an error in judgment or a psyop or a propaganda tool or some kind of instrument of dumbing down the people with stupid sloganeering, like I always say, would somehow turn you against the people of God and against what God is going to do in the earth. And it's not about their leaders, and it's not about the Illuminati, Rothschild connection. I mean, dude, it's about the people that are there back in their land, and the fact that Jesus Christ, the Lord and Messiah of the Christian religion himself, said, I will return right back to this exact spot where I came and left. And they saw him go up in the air. And of course, all you haters out there and all you atheists and communists and BLM queers, all of you, none of you believe it. But he was going to return exactly to the exact spot where he left, and it's going to be right there in Zion. So this Jesus Christ is the biggest Zionist in the world. He's the big Zionist. And even Jewish people out there who don't believe this have to understand that their own prophecies, and they do understand that their own prophecies are calling for their Messiah to return to Jerusalem, and maybe they don't understand it to be this person, this carpenter from Galilee named Jesus Christ, or Jesus of Nazareth, or what have you. But they're still looking for their Messiah to arrive as the prophetic scriptures foretell. And you guys are all betting against it. The pro-Hamas, pro-Palestinians, love queer crowd, you're all betting against it. The Black Rock United Nations crowd with their Theosophy Institute and their Lucis Trust and their Lucifer worship, they're all betting against it. The Vatican, right? This is the fount of Jew hate and anti-Semitism is at the Vatican. They're betting against them, right? Everyone's going to make their move. China, right? China's going to roll out their tanks. That's my prediction. They're going to roll out their tanks and put down this genocide, right? Can you see it happening in the next 10 years, right? This upstart Israel, they were financed by Rothschilds. They're the only remnant of power of the colonial white power structure. So we got to go and attack Israel, and that's what's going to happen. The world is going to form their armies against Israel. They're going to go into the north where Megiddo is. All of their armies are going to collect together, and they're going to go to battle against Jerusalem and against Israel and say it ain't so. Tell me it doesn't happen. Tell me it doesn't unfold and unfurl right before your eyes, just like Scripture foretells. And apparently there's a whole bunch of other people out here who've forgotten this, or they just never learned this, because where I came from, everyone already knew all of this, and they knew it way better than me. They knew all about the structures of the Scriptures, and you go back into Isaiah 47, 49, whatever. I'm just saying something that's probably not highly accurate. I'm just trying to recall now, like we all are, the vicissitudes of our memory. And the truth is I'm going to defend the people of Israel as they make their stand. They were horrified by how they got attacked. And if there was a bunch of Muslim cartels that came over the border in Mexico and gang raped a bunch of women and made their husbands watch while they cut their throats and did all that kind of horrible shit on video, and then they ran back over with people who they captured and were brutalizing, and then they used psyops and weird propaganda mechanisms within this, America-hating media to generate huge masses of hundreds of thousands of protesters against America who just got assaulted. Yeah, man, I'll go to war with that personally. Probably you would too. So stop judging these people. Leave them alone. Let them sort it out, because they have problems coming and going over there. They have problems with the United Nations. They have problems with the World Economic Forum. They have problems trying to cope with this pressure from the One Belt, One Road initiative. And all these people in Israel have been forced vaccinated. They're probably going to give them biometric scanning ID stuff and try this, smart city shit on them. So this is all going to have to be worked out by God. So if I was you, I would stay out of it.
Revolution. We have this tweet from Taylor Hansen. Can't make this up.
I always do that too.
On my flight home to DFW, to Salt Lake City, I have an illegal immigrant, a former soldier from Venezuela, seated next to me on American Air. Every time I fly back to SLC, I have illegal immigrants on my flights. Despite Governor Cox claiming it's not happening, Utah has become the home for over 88,000 illegal immigrants. As you can see in the documents, he is prior military. In another portion of the documents, it details how he came alone despite having a wife and 2 children. Let's stress this. In these documents, you can see it says that, have you received military training of any type? Yes. And that he has a wife and kids, but he left them behind to come to the United States. Why? Why is a Venezuelan with military training leaving his family behind to come to the United States?
Because it's an invasion. Because it's an invasion. So keep in mind, right, if your revolution is predicated on a coalition of the fringes, and Steve Saylor came up with that quote. So the coalition of the fringes, then in order to stay in power, you must increase the fringes. You must increase the destabilization. You must increase the amount of people in a government, polity, country, society, whatever you want to call it, that adhere or are at least dependent on you. And so the ability to bring in as many people as possible across the border is not a feature. It is not a unintended consequence. And conservatives need to stop thinking that these are unintended consequences. These are absolutely intended consequences. These are deliberate. The purpose of a system is what it does, and it is not going to stop on its own.
You talk about insurgents, the age of insurgency warfare. I mean, we just had 10 million illegal immigrants come across the border. Where are they? Do they have secret groups that?
No, hold on. 10 million is what we had several years ago.
What we know about. I mean, how many?
That's who we know. And then you have millions over the past few years under Biden.
And how many of those in Russia, in Moscow? How many shooters were there? 6.
I think there were 3.
3 killed 70 plus people.
It's hard to say at this point.
So there could have been more, but I mean,
of course it could.
So like you said, this is only talking about what we know.
And there's some that got away. So
this is what I was talking. I mentioned I was talking to a normie not that long ago, a couple days ago, and part of it was illegal immigration leading to terror attacks, and whether or not that results in some kind of war where then there's no election.
I think it makes sense as a military commander to have insurgents in another country that then the sleeper cells will awaken and do the damage from within, so that the country turns on its own people to try and defend themselves, causes mass chaos, you win without even having to attack. I mean, it's just the best tactic for an invading force, for an enemy force. So that they wouldn't do it here is insane. Obviously, they're going to try and do it here.
And what's the very first thing that we do with the illegals when we bring them across? And it's already I said this a while ago, that it's already very clear, and Taylor and many others have been down there documenting this. We give them airplane tickets.
Yep.
We give them airplane. We give them tickets. So they already know, right? If you're going to put this into your TTPs, so what happens when you cross the border? Well, you get sent to processing, then you have to do some like little woo-woo hearing, and that's fine. You just say the word asylum and you're good to go, basically. And then the very next thing that happens is you get handed an airplane ticket. Now, let's say you've got maybe 5 or 6 brothers along with you. Guess what? Now you're on an airplane. Yep. Now you have the ability, and look. It's we don't even need like Muhammad Atta and 9/11 hijackers to learn, to sneak in the country. You just walk across.
The funny thing is,
it's so easy.
The Patriot Act allows for the, I believe, I could be wrong, indefinite detention of immigrants as they enter this country. So the issue isn't the Patriot Act. Actually, right now, it's that they are not using the Patriot Act for one of the purposes people were scared they were going to use it for, which is detaining immigrants as they enter the country. Now, people were saying immigrants. Specifically, I'm talking about the illegal immigrants, of which millions have crossed in the country without being stopped. And there is no mass enforcement against them. There is no iron fist government being like, we're going to take action against these illegal immigrants. None at all. And even Donald Trump is only saying, I'm going to enforce the law. It's like, that's all he's going to do.
He did say the massive deportation operation.
Yeah, but all that's saying is like, I am going to engage in a large law enforcement operation to enforce the law. Like, you can say whatever you want. If Trump came out and said something substantially more egregious, then I think there'd be grounds to criticize him. I think what we end up seeing with a lot of conservatives is they will take a moderate approach to their beliefs, thinking it'll win them more friends, and then the Democrats will argue the fringe far left, creating the middle ground of the left. So the compromise between a moderate and a leftist is going to be a left position. If the right is coming out and saying, at the bare minimum, we will just start enforcing the law, the left will then say, well, let's compromise on that then. And then the compromise with Democrats in Congress is going to end up being like, we deport only half.
The main thing that we need to get across to conservatives is the idea of reciprocity, and reciprocity means that anything they do to us, and you see what happens when they come for us, the doxing, the swatting that we've both experienced, and the harassment, the censorship, the cancel culture, it's not going to just stop on its own. And so you think people say, to your point, right? We say, we're going to compromise, we're going to do this. This is already the plan that they want that they're putting in place. It's anarcho-tyranny, the reason the Patriot Act is not applied to select groups and is applied to others. Yeah, they're going to use it to look at your text messages, but they don't care about it.
Let's talk about, how is it that in New York they're arresting the homeowner? How is it that we've come to this point, and is it just a fringe one-off thing? Are we really at the arresting landlords phase?
Yes, absolutely. Of course, every single time in this book, every single communist revolution comes to landlords.
Do you really believe that in New York City, in 100% of circumstances, when a squatter is at a house, the NYPD will show up and arrest the homeowner, just like they did? Or do you think that those cops were just communists themselves?
I think she broke a law by changing the locks when they said, don't change the locks. Well, don't do it. And she was like, okay, I'm going to go do it anyway.
That's not my question. My question is, let's say we replicate that scenario in New York 100 times. Squatters go into a house, homeowner shows up, squatters can't prove anything, cops then arrest the homeowner. Does that happen in the majority of cases, do you think, right now?
I think over 50%, yes.
My thing is, we're seeing a system.
Yeah.
We're seeing a systemized playbook that's laid out.
Look, in New York City, there are a lot of actual open communists in city government.
Yes.
They're community organizers, and they're in city government. That is going to spread. This does not stop.
Just too black pill for me, man.
Brother, it is happening, homeboy.
San Francisco gets it next. Then it'll spread to like Madison, Wisconsin or something, Chicago.
But you think Madison, Wisconsin...
Ian, it's happening.
You think Madison, Wisconsin police officers, the majority of the time, because it has to be the majority, 50% might even be too light. Like, this has to be like typical enforcement. You're saying even in Madison, Wisconsin, Midwest... homeowner walks up to the house of a squatter there, they call the cops then say, you can't do anything about it, we'll arrest you if you do. And then it results in homeowners getting arrested. Do you think that'll happen in Madison?
Keep in mind, it's not the police saying it. It's what Phil's saying. It's the city government is requiring it to be enforced.
I'm specifically asking about the police. Because if the cops show up and say, I ain't enforcing that law, ain't no law getting enforced.
I think they will.
In Western Maryland, we have Second Amendment sanctuaries. where the sheriff's offices have outright said we will not enforce state or federal gun laws in Maryland.
Sheriffs are different, but you don't have. No. Sheriffs are typically in
elected positions.
Well, sheriffs are always elected, the constitutional law enforcement. But in major cities, you don't really have sheriffs that way. You have that in rural counties, but in major cities, it's usually police force where police they're employees of the city government.
Do you think that comes to Omaha?
Eventually,
Omaha,
I don't think it comes now. I don't think any of this.
Omaha super live.
None of this stuff comes fast. First of all, but it comes to urban areas. So it doesn't actually. It probably doesn't get into small towns and into rural areas. That tends to be where people
they don't have police departments.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is like the whole notion, the kind of impulse. The socialist impulse that you're seeing in cities all over the country, and it's not just happening in the United States. This is something that's happening. It's definitely happening in Canada. You can look at the laws that they're passing and the fact that they have like 3 openly communist parties in Canada. In Labour in the UK, there's tons of communists. There's Ashlar Curl, who's an open communist. That I don't think she's actually an MP, but she's at least a talking head. Anyways, the point is the socialist impulse. It's experiencing a significant upswing, and you see a lot of it in existing governments at city levels. It's probably not significant at state levels, but I mean, just look at AOC. The squad are all, if they're not actually members of the DSA, they caucus with them and they're friendly with them and sympathetic to all those ideas. Those are the democratic socialists. These concepts have a goal. Like these political ideas have a goal in mind, and it doesn't matter if it's a step today or if it's 2 steps today. The point is, it's coming. I say this frequently. I wrote a record called "The Fall of Ideals" in 2006 because I smelled this stuff coming. And every single thing that I've worried about since. In 2012, I released a record called "A War You Cannot Win." That on the cover was to cross AR-15s because there's all kinds of American Revolution or American Second Revolution imagery in it. In 2010, I released a record called "For We Are Many," and it literally, the cover of it was NPCs. It wasn't the same idea, or it wasn't the same thing you see now, but it was the idea of some people are actually awake to these ideas and some people aren't. This stuff is called? That was called "For We Are Many," but this stuff has been coming for a long time, and I've been screaming about it, as much as I can. But these things don't stop unless they're stopped. Communists do not just let you live.
That's where I come in. Is we're not bystanders in this. We are leaders, and
people are
listening.
There's the faces and stuff, and there's a couple people that kind of have the idea, and then there's other people that are just kind of NPCs. But that came out in 2010. These ideas I've been seeing coming, and I've seen this stuff for a long time now.
It's just I'm not a bystander. I'm commanding and communicating with people and changing people on the daily, and I don't want people to lose hope. And if people really truly believe a communist thing is inevitable, they'll give up.
It's not about inevitable. It's about you have to make people aware. People still think I've been talking about this for 10 years, and people still think I'm crazy.
Yes, totally. They think it'll never come for them. Oh, it's just happening. It's happened to that. That guy down the street. Oh, it's just New York. It's just this landowner. Oh, because she didn't, follow the rule correctly. But no, this movement is based in envy and greed, and when you use those sins and those vices and tell people that it is good to be envious of other people's property and other people's things and other people's success, and in fact those people are your oppressors and you must rise up and tear them down and tear away the things that they have, it will always end like this.
So here we are, guys. We're back with Wendy's Boutique, wendyslimited.com, wendyslimited.com, and the hottest boutique couture online, boutique supremacy online, Wendy's Boutique. So we've got to remind you guys, wendyslimited.com, our great sponsor. Please go and support her and support all the hardworking folks over there that are trying to bring you the best fashion design and designer brand name labels anywhere. So we just have to remind you that wendyslimited.com, wendyslimited.com is where you need to go.